Come on now. You can make it. If you can't say Trump's got some Hitlerian politics, who the f can you call Latinx is not real, bro? I know. That's a joke. Anytime you hear me say Latinx, know that I'm memeing, okay? All right, let's get started with the news. Trump named time of the year, person of the year. Hello?
Was able to stay at home last night, and then is going to be ringing the bell. They're ringing the bell, and he's got to be excessively happy because we know he likes to collect magazine covers.
Right.
But now he doesn't have to mock one up. For the second time, he is Time Magazine's Person of the Year. To me, there are other contenders, but if they did anything but name him, that would be flat out biased.
Well, so Time.com has just released that, and I'm looking at the actual article, and it's great. It said, and the subheadline is, if what comes next is anything like what he promises, Trump will reshape the nation and the world. And that is why so many people, according to polls, which we're going to get into very shortly.
Dude, they're trying to be doing the same exact thing that they did with Hitler again. You know what I mean? Not wrong, but in a good way. No, I mean, they're not wrong in a bad way, for sure. Like, they're not wrong. Also, there's a bunch of stuff from the interview where apparently he admits prices likely won't go down, won't rule out war with Iran, says he agrees with Sarah McBride, and doesn't want to talk about the bathroom issue. Yeah. That's because he is a room reader and understands that like the trans panic shit does not work. It's sweaty, and I will forever stand by that. I know that things change and attitudes change and culture shifts, but the problem is, for many Americans, they just don't give a f about trans people like that. It only works if you know, it only works if like people can just be like, look at these silly goofy ass Democrats that don't give a f about like fixing the prices. They only care about like giving free trans surgeries to Latinx people or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, most people just don't give a shit. The sweaty loser constituency that like only cares about trans people are very, they're marginal. They're loud, but they're marginal. They're just like popping off online.
People are really up.
Everyone I don't like is Hitler. Bro, come on now. I mean, come on now. You can make it. If you can't say Trump's got some Hitlerian politics, who the f can you call Hitler? Latinx is not real, bro. I know. That's a joke. Anytime you hear me say Latinx, know that I'm memeing, okay? Dude, who the f can we say it has exhibited Hitlerian qualities, if not a guy who is just like, who fucking ran on saying, I'm gonna do concentration camps to deport 20 million people. It's crazy, man. What is wild? I saw someone say that calling Trump was anti-Semitic. Yeah, people are just fucking so brain broken. All right, we'll get into that. Let's just keep going
about the next 4 years. Look, over the last 4 years, things have not gone well, and people are ready for something new, something better.
He was Time Magazine's Person of the Year in 2016 when he won that election. Also up for the other contenders were Joe Rogan and Kamala Harris. But,
and Benjamin Netanyahu.
Well,
that's right.
It's hard to believe that the election was just last month. And I mean,
feels like he's already the president, right?
Exactly. I mean, and to Joe Biden's credit, he's essentially stepped out of the way and allowed Donald Trump to start doing what he's doing right now. And I think when you look at the other people that were considered, he was the only choice. I mean, you can't have Kamala Harris that lost the election, then become the person of the year.
But by the way, as Trump moved in, you know, he has Steve Witkoff over in the Middle East. He's got Tom Homan working the border, doing his appearances. Already. So he's got that going. The President of the United States got rid of the FBI director who put so much pressure on him. He actually saluted.
I can't believe it's only been a month. I actually cannot believe it's only been a month since this happened, because it feels like a lifetime ago. Like, it literally feels like it was a year ago that the election happened. And goddamn, dude.
saluted the moment that he stepped aside. Great day for America. And then he's got his nominees stealing a lot of the spotlight in Capitol Hill. So they're following him around.
And he's already calling the Prime Minister of Canada, meeting with him. He's
stuff
already
done.
calling the
But Ainsley, you know what's different now?
What?
It's not really Trump tweeting or going. It's kind of like the things he's doing rather than the things he's saying.
Action.
You think he learned from mistakes 4 years ago?
I don't know. I think it's definitely intentional. I also don't think he's not in the middle of an investigation. No one's questioning the authenticity of his election.
No.
They're not talking about Michael Flynn making a call from Puerto Rico and them saying he's talking to the Russians about some secret deal to toss the country.
Even Fetterman was tweeting on Truth Social. I think he's the first Democratic lawmaker to get on Truth Social and tweeted out that Donald Trump should be pardoned for the case here in New York.
You know what, Ainsley, to your point about why he's doing things differently last time, I think last time when he won, it was kind of a surprise. It's like, okay, I ran for a year, but I won. Now what do I do?
Yeah, it was a surprise because Americans were kind of oblivious to the ways in which America operates, okay? Many Americans were oblivious to the anger and resentment that a lot of people felt towards these institutions that ruined their lives. And many Americans were like, oh, they'll never vote for this like racist charlatan. There's no way. And Americans were like, nah, dog, that guy is just like me for real. He's talking like me and he's walking like me. And I think part of that shock came from the broadest subsects of society that still were laser focused on mainstream media as their primary source of information, that I think were deluding themselves into a different America than the one that actually exists. One where people do have reverence for the institutions, if that makes sense. And it's not. That's not the America that we live in. And that's part of the reason why I don't think there's going to be a revamp of the... that's why I don't believe that there's going to be a revamp of like the hashtag resistance liberalism that happened immediately after Trump was got elected the first time. What I mean by this is it was a shock for a lot of liberals who got a wake-up call and were like, we got to do something against this. We got to do something for it. And then they did. And then they protested. And not many things changed, right? Like nothing really changed. A lot of young people, I talked about this quite a bit in 2020. I think a lot of young people's first foray into political action was literally direct action. In the midst of COVID, there's a lot of panic. There's a lot of anger. And they see police brutality. They consider it to be unacceptable. They take it to the fucking streets. And then what came of that mass mobilization? Nothing. And when that happens and you get nothing after doing all of it, that you go out and you vote for the right guy and nothing changes. You go out and you march, you go out and you protest, you shit up and nothing changes. Yeah, at that point, you're going to be like, well, I'm a little disillusioned by this process. So that's the problem, you know? Chatter said your katanas are upside down. No, they're not. And I don't care. Not only are they not upside down, but even if they were, I wouldn't care. I like it the way it is. Yes, they are. Okay, I don't care. I like it the way it is. BLM, March for Our Lives, Women's March, youth climate stuff, all kind of led to nothing for progressive Gen Zers. Yeah. How do you expect, or why do you expect progressive next generation people that took it to the goddamn streets, that did everything, that did like the outside of the politics stuff, but then also they went out and they voted, and then they didn't see any positive changes in their lives? How do you expect anyone to feel like their voice matters in this process? I think their voice clearly doesn't matter in this process, and they came to that recognition and they felt disillusioned, and now we're living in the ashes of that.
He's done it once before.
Yeah, that's true.
Some mistakes are always made along the way, but he's figured out how he has wanted to do it more efficiently. Mm-hmm. And so far, so good. And
Elise Stefanik, by the way, got the Fetterman endorsement yesterday. That's the first time I've seen a Democrat come out and say that. Yeah, and they took a picture together.
And to your point about Joe Biden just laying low, he's not doing anything except an historic number of pardons and commutations. Over 1,500 issued this morning.
I don't think he's going to give us any comment about that.
I don't think so either.
Anyway, we're calling this the Trump effect, and it is in full swing. The last Fox News poll of the year is showing that the majority of voters feel hopeful about his victory, 54%.
That's right. And with under 6 weeks until Inauguration Day on January 20th at noon, plans are well underway, including an invitation to the China President Xi Jinping to show up live in Washington. If he accepted, he would be the first foreign leader to ever attend.
Is that right? That's right.
Bro, he's going to make a MAGA communist out of me. I swear to God. I swear to Christ, dude. Yo, what are you doing, man? Oh, God. His love for, like, strong men is so crazy. Bro, they're championing this like it's a good thing, as if their viewers don't hate China. No, I mean, but Trump thinks it's a good thing because Trump is like, I'm very strong on China, but also at the same time, not only he's very strong on China, but also he likes the strongman aspects of Chinese governance. He likes that Xi is a strong man. Like he likes him for the wrong reasons, I guess, kind of. Like he doesn't like the centralized power for the broad, 15, 20-year agendas that can dramatically improve the material conditions of like Chinese people with like even development and stuff like that. But he likes it for the mass surveillance apparatus and the fact that like maybe he looks at it and he's like, well, you guys are really cleaning our pockets with your economy. I don't like it. And they worship you. They worship you over there. I want them to worship me. Yeah, it's crazy. He's jealous of Xi's perfect hairline. Yeah, he does have a really good hairline.
The first fun.
I'm hoping it's in.
Okay. And Trump's inaugural fund getting a boost from a surprising source from Mark Zuckerberg.
This is only a surprising source if you're a fucking idiot, okay? This is the least surprising revelation. I've been saying this. It's only surprising if you're like, oh, I don't understand. We've been lying and saying Mark Zuckerberg is woke for the last like 4 years when it's very clear that he was never actually woke. He's a fucking billionaire. Of course he wasn't woke. They're like, oh, I'm shocked. I'm shocked that the company, the social media billionaire that is responsible perhaps for the most active right-wing QAnon radicalization is paying the piper, is bending the knee to the guy that he thinks is very cool. Of course, these guys are going to kiss the ring. Of course, they want favorable deals. They know Trump will play ball if they kiss that ring. Trump is not like a super petty, super vindictive guy. I don't think he's not. He's a narcissist. You give him his flowers and he's going to be like, great. I love that. Can you help briefly explain why conservatives seem to be very concerned about human trafficking, but are so callous with other issues concerning endangerment and rights violations of the general population? They're not actually worried about human trafficking either. They're just worried about like a conspiracy of human trafficking that they've concocted in their brains. I mean, the most famous instance of human trafficking that happened under the Biden administration in broad daylight when Republican governors Greg Abbott and Ron DeSantis actively trafficked humans from Texas to blue states to successfully blow up the processing structure that existed for people that wanted to get temporary protected status or legally seek out asylum. They did that. They did that. They did that in broad daylight, and Biden did nothing about it. And it was one of the most successful ways of using humans and human trafficking to prove a point. Now, the real point that they proved was, if you dump 100,000 people that are supposed to have their day in court and get legally processed through the system into unsuspecting blue cities, and then the federal government doesn't actually get in. The federal government doesn't actually step in and try to help to alleviate some of the stress here. Then it's going to destroy the structure that exists. That's the only thing that they proved. The only thing they proved is when there's no federal mechanism of pushback that right-wing governors get away with human trafficking.
Meta donating $1 million as the tech billionaire looks to mend ties with Trump. Because remember, he took him off of Facebook in 2021 and then put him back on a few years later. That tells you a lot that they're mending the relationship.
Yeah. He grew his hair out and he started doing jiu-jitsu. I don't know if it's related.
Yeah.
He wanted to take on Elon Musk and it never happened.
Yeah, he's trying to look more like Danny Penny, perhaps. Also, remember, the Zuckerbucks in those key districts made him put his hand on the scale with a shadow banning of the conservative groups and conservative politicians. And he's not the only.
I think it's kind of crazy because so much of like virtually every single thing this guy just said, remember, this is the most popular news network in the United States of America. Okay. And virtually every single thing that man just said, Brian Kilmeade, every single thing he said is just a straight up lie. Okay. There is no other way to tackle the issue without just addressing that he is just lying. Like the Zuckerbucks or the fact that Facebook was actively suppressing conservative opinions. This is a falsehood. Spend any time on Meta products. Spend any time on Facebook and you will very quickly understand that this is just a straightforward lie, okay? Facebook is filled to the brim with the most insane right-wing sentiment. Right-wing content creators on the news tab on Facebook have consistently dominated. Back when I was a Facebook content creator for the Young Turks, I couldn't believe I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Like these guys were actively going to Congress and saying Facebook is suppressing us, Facebook is silencing us, Facebook is blacklisting us, right? When in fact they weren't doing that at all, okay? They were not doing that at all. In that process, while they were cry-bullying Facebook to get more favorable algorithmic outcomes for themselves, they were already dominating the algorithm, okay? They were already dominating, and they never stopped dominating the algorithm. They've always dominated the algorithm, but what happened in that process is that they turned around and they hired right-wing Republicans, okay? Here, Facebook's top 10s, yep. Facebook top 10s, a bot that posts the source of the top 10 performing links. This is on October 7, 2020. The top performing link posts on U.S. Facebook pages in the last 24 hours are from Dan Bongino, Fox News, Fox News, Fox News, Donald Trump for president, Fox News. Number 7, TMZ. Number 8 is CNN. Number 9 is NPR. Number 10 is CNN. And they still, at this time, were complaining about how much Facebook was suppressing the truth, how much Facebook was suppressing right-wing sentiment. This was never a real thing. You understand? Republicans are so good at creating fake grievances, leaning on those fake grievances, and then creating an environment where they make everybody believe these fake grievances and then use Congress to basically bully these massive institutions, these big-ass social media companies, in an effort to get even more favorable results than the ones that they already have. This is kind of similar to the way that right-wing grievances in the sphere of like Christian nationalism works, right? Most people understand that the idea that like Christianity and Christian thoughts are being suppressed in the United States of America is fucking stupid. Like the war on Christmas shit, right? Everybody laughs at this. But the real reasons why the Republicans actually run with this falsehood is because it's not necessarily that Christianity is being suppressed. The reason why they go with this grievance politics is because they match up some kind of like oppression, some kind of anti-Christianity oppression with gay people existing, with women being able to get abortions. It's a way to reframe restrictions that they want to implement it's a way to propagandize their position. It's a way to reframe the restrictions that they actually want to implement on others by saying, no, we don't want to restrict other people's freedoms. It's just that you're restricting my freedom. Okay? That's it. And it's the same process here where it's like, it's not that the right is being silenced. That's not real. They just made it up. But the real reason why they say that is so that they get even more favorable algorithmic boosts. That is the main purpose of this, and it works. That's how they get Congress to bully Facebook and maybe even threaten Facebook with like trust busting, for example, so that Facebook will then turn around and bring forward a right-wing people. Yeah, exactly. Work the referees. Thank you. Man Plan 80. They work the referees a little bit so that they go and they hire, Heritage Foundation people to do their content moderation. That's the real purpose here. And they have done that. They've been doing this since like 2016, right? Like, it's not new. It's not new at all. They had like people from Tucker Carlson's Daily Caller doing moderation on Facebook. It's ridiculous, Yes, I saw the Brett Stevens headline. Let's finish this up and then we'll move on to that.
Differences aside, Democratic Senator John Fetterman joining Truth Social to, quote, meet folks where they are, especially in Pennsylvania, by the way, and calling to pardon Trump in his very first post. He also mentioned Hunter.
And
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart.
Well, thank you very much. This is an honor, a tremendous honor. I brought some of our compatriots along with us. They're going to do a beautiful job for you for the next 4 years. And it's really been something very special. And I have to say, Time Magazine getting this honor for the second time, I think I like it better this time, actually.
That's it. Because when you shit on the blob of undocumented immigrants, or when you shit on an entire population of trans people, like, you're not disruptive. You're not actually harming the status quo. Yeah, just use a different word. Man, shut the fuck up. Okay, here, take a week off. I used it correctly. What are we doing here? What the fuck's happening with the wokes of the day? Everyone is trying to be the woke of the day today. It seems we're just an hour in and people are still being fucking annoying. Stop being annoying. Anyway, the economy was certainly a big factor in your victory, but what was a bigger factor, I believe, was the border. I think the border, and I won it in 2016 on the border. I fixed the border. It was really fixed. They came in, dislodged everything. It's the border. I want to come back to immigration a little bit later. Let's start out on what's happening right now. You were elected on a promise to change Washington. By all accounts, the fight over that has already begun. One of your nominees was effectively blocked by the Senate. There are other senators who expressed doubts about some of your other nominees. Well, I don't think they will. And he wasn't blocked. I had the votes if I needed them, but I had to work very hard. He's talking about Gates. So you decided to give up on Gates? No, I didn't give up on him. I talked to him and I said, Matt, I don't think this is worth the fight. Okay, he talks about how it's not worth the fight for Matt Gaetz. That's so he is conceding on that front. You met in person with Gates and had 5 hard-nosed senators. Not with the senators there. No, I called those senators. My relationship with the Senate is very good. Many of them I endorsed. Yada, yada, yada. I really don't care how they get them approved as long as they get them approved. It's up to the Senate. Will you commit to honoring Senate's authority to reject or confirm? Well, sure. I want him to do that. I don't think there's too many. I don't think that, look, everybody has. That's why they have menus in restaurants. Okay. Do you think the quote Trump verbatim in history books with all his pauses and shit? Okay, that's silly. I don't really care about that. What is this? My dad literally wants to invade Mexico, but my Mexican partner thinks the people in small Mexican towns would love that because you have to pay the cartel to leave the town, let alone the country. My boss had to pay $15K to bring her deported husband home. What? Good luck. Yeah. They'll be waving the flags. I understand immigrants overall lead to economic growth, but is there specific data on illegal immigrants specifically? I mean, that is the same. Undocumented immigrants do lead to economic growth. It's the same as documented immigrants, but it's even more economic growth. The problem is our mistreatment of undocumented migrants is the real issue. Not processing them is the real issue. We just hyper exploit them. And that also causes that also is a depressive force on overall wages in the country. Because if people can get away with paying pennies on the dollar to a random person that has no legal recourse, no way to fucking defend themselves, then they will do that. If you truly wanted to stop the invasion of undocumented migrants or whatever, you would be punishing the people that hire them. Except we don't do that because the reason why there is a concept such as undocumented immigrants in the United States of America, the reason why we don't actually process these people and allow them to work as documented laborers in the American structure is so that we can exploit them, so that we can keep them working at pennies on the dollar in fucking trailer parks and shit. It's basically just indentured servitude. That's the reason why we have a two-tiered labor structure in this country. It's super cheap. It's not enough that even if someone was coming from a much poorer country, there would still be, even if someone was coming from a poorer country, there would still be a tremendous amount of people that are willing to work for much cheaper, right? If one more person sends me the fucking dumbass Enron CEO getting cream pied, I think I'm just going to end the broadcast. I know, man. I know. I don't care. Like, we'll get there, okay? But it's like very inconsequential, all right? Please stop. I'm trying to have a serious fucking conversation. Please. Focus up, chat. Yeah, I think it also seems fake. Like, it seems like it's a fake thing. Oh my God. Oh my fucking. Yeah, it's just fake. Like, it's fake as fuck. Y'all fall for the dumbest shit sometimes. Yeah. Anyway, one of them is controversial. I want to ask a specific question. RFK Jr., noted vaccine skeptic. We're going to have a big discussion. The autism rate is at a level nobody ever believed possible. If you look at the things that are happening, there's something causing it. Do you think it's linked to vaccines? No, I'm going to be listening to Bobby, who I've really gotten along with great and have a lot of respect for. Okay? For having to do with food, having to do with vaccinations. He does not disagree with vaccinations, all vaccinations. He disagrees probably with some. Oh my God, I don't know who Mondale Robinson is. Why the fuck would I care about someone quitting TYT? What is going on? Shut up! Shut the fuck up! Enough! Lock in, chat. Fucking lock in! I'm cranky. I'm officially cranky. So that could include getting rid of some vaccinations. It could if I think that's dangerous, if I think that they're not beneficial, but I don't think it's going to be very controversial in the end. Do you agree with him about the connection between vaccines and autism? I want to see the numbers. It's going to be the numbers. Trump personally also believes that vaccines cause autism. He's talked about it before. He's like, you know, he's talked about it, but he's also done Operation Warp Speed. So I think when push comes to shove, he will do what is beneficial. Okay? He will do what is beneficial. But that doesn't mean that he's not going to dial back on some of this other stuff because like his base loves it. It's like red meat to the base, and he will give that red meat to the base every single time. Mr. President, some foreign officials have expressed concern about sharing intelligence with Tulsi Gabbard given her position and support in Syria. I'm surprised to hear because I think she is like a really great American. Hey, look, they said I was friendly with Russia until they saw the tapes, and they said, you know, he's not actually. He was the one that ended the Russian pipeline, Nord Stream 2. Okay, no one says that. People still think he's friendly with Russia, even though he goes back and forth on it. So I don't know. I'm surprised to hear it. Thank you. But yeah, wait, what? No, that's generous. Thank you. By the way, do you want hors d'oeuvres or anything? No, that's generous. Thank you. You sure? Yes, but thank you. If you learn that foreign officials are withholding intelligence because she is the head of your intelligence, would that change your calculus? I don't know. I'm surprised to hear it. I heard that the first time the other day. I mean, she's a great American. Okay, I don't care about this. Project 2025. No, look, I don't disagree with everything in Project 2025, but I disagree with some things. I specifically didn't want to read it because it was under my auspices, and I want to be able to say that, you know? The only way I can say I have nothing to do with it is if I don't read it. It's also because I don't know how to read. Yeah, he's going to do Project 2025. Okay? It's a lot of pages. 800 pages. That's a lot of pages. I thought it was inappropriate that they came out with it just before the election, to be honest with you. They should have waited until I won. Then I would do it. I let him know, yeah, I didn't think it was appropriate because it's not me. Why would they do that? Did you express those frustrations? Oh, I did. Okay, I don't care. Let's shift to a topic that I know you care about, immigration. You recently said on True Social, you are planning to use, okay, this is the good stuff. This is the important stuff. So he plans to use the military to deport migrants. The Posse Comitatus Act prohibits the use of military for domestic law enforcement. What will you do if the military does not or refuse to carry out your orders? Well, it doesn't. It doesn't stop the military if it's an invasion of our country. And I consider it an invasion of our country. We have criminals coming into our countries that we've never seen. We've never seen before. We have people coming in at levels and record numbers. He just straight up is like, I don't give a fuck about the law, which we know already. Bandit MD 11, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. And also on top of that, he's saying he's going to basically utilize like whatever he can to enforce these insanely violent processes that he wants to implement. And I'll only do what the law allows, but I will go up to the maximum level of what the law allows. And I think in many cases, the sheriffs and law enforcement is going to need help. We'll also get the National Guard. If you can't negotiate agreements with the receiving governments and none seem receptive, will you of necessity have to hold these detained migrants in camps? I'll get them into every country, or we won't do businesses. So you won't need to build more detention facilities. No, because look, We may have to do it anyway because look, they brought in millions of people and many of those people, yep, right here, he's just like openly recognizing, yes, we're going to have to build camps. You look at prison populations, what's happening all over the world except here. No, I can't even conceive of why they would allow criminals. Why would somebody do that? Why would somebody do that? So you're saying there won't be new camps, more camps to hold detained migrants. Well, there might be. Now, this is a question that I knew the answer to. Okay. Of course, there were going to be concentration camps. Like, you can't deport people without detaining them. And you can't detain people without putting them in concentration camps. That's it. That's it. Whatever it takes to get them out. I don't care, honestly. Whatever it takes to get them out. So for me to say this is Hitlerian is not an exaggeration. It's just an accurate understanding of Hitler and fascism in general. This is how it starts. Again, I'll do absolutely everything within the confines of the law, but if it needs new camps, but I hope we're going to need too many because I want to get them out, and I don't want them sitting in the camp for the next 20 years. I want them out, and the countries have to take them back. And if they don't take them back, we won't do business with those countries. We will tariff those countries very substantially. When they send products in, they will have substantial tariffs, and it's going to make it very hard for them to do business with us. Yeah. A question on the minds of a lot of Americans. Will you restore the policy of separating families? I don't think I won't have to do it because, first of all, it wasn't my policy. It was Obama's policy. Rainey Draws a Lot. Thank you for the 25 gift to subs. I didn't build the jails for children. He did. And it's like kind of weird that he says that because, okay, so you don't have an issue with it, though. So you agree with Obama, I guess. Like, I don't understand. I've never understood this argument where, like, you're saying Obama built the camps, which you're right, he did, right? But I was critical of Obama building that, and I was critical of Obama continuing to implement some form of family separation, but Trump put it into overdrive as always. So why are you even bringing up the fact that Obama did it? Like, it's just such a stupid way to deflect because, okay, so if it's something that you disagreed with, I mean, if it's like, are you bringing this up because you disagree with Barack Obama? No, you agree with Barack Obama. Okay, what does that say? I don't want to litigate the past. I'm just asking if you will do this. Well, you said your policy. This was a policy of the country. I don't believe we'll have to because we will send the whole family back. Yeah. He also says we're going to do concentration camps, but we're not going to do child separation because we're going to pack up the kids too. As in, we're going to put the children in the concentration camps. Does that help you understand the situation a little bit better? Was there another form of governance that happened not that long ago? Perhaps almost 100 years ago. Well, I guess, closer than that. Less than 100 years ago, where there was a policy of putting everyone in camps, including the children. An important fact to note here is that 1 in 15 families in the United States of America are mixed status families, as in 1 in 15 homes need to be broken into by the federal government or the National Guard or federal agents like BORTAC units, demanding their paperwork, asking other homes if they have undocumented migrants that they're housing, doing dragnets with the express purpose of putting all of those people, men, women, children, into these concentrated camps, raids at workplaces, raids in towns. I'm just saying, like, this is something that he is signaling he's going to do. It was his signature policy that he said he was going to do. Deport them together. I would much rather deport them together, yes, than separate. By the way, when you talk about separation, we have 325,000 children here during Democrats, and this was done by the Democrats who are right now sex slaves or dead, and they were all allowed. Many of the people who voted for you, as you mentioned moments ago, cited high prices, particularly of food and groceries. If you deport millions of migrant agricultural workers, won't the food prices rise sharply? No, because we're going to let people in. But we have to let them in legally. We don't want people to come in from jails. We don't want the jails of Venezuela and many other countries. Why are you wearing my country shirt? Just curious. I don't know, man, because it's a sick shirt. The fuck's wrong with you? Just take the W, Lithuanian Andy. Oh, my God. He's asked so many times, too. He's been timed out for asking that question over and over again. Like, what do you think my answer is going to be, man? What do you think I'm going to say? Because I fucking hate Lithuania or something? Like, what is happening? Why are you wearing my country shirt? Just curious. Why are you wearing my country shirt? You got timed out. Still consistently is asking it. It's because I'm Lithuanian in my heart. Okay? In my heart, I'm Lithuanian. That's why. Estonia is not even number 1. Maybe it's number 2. Lithuania number 1. Estonia number 3. Okay, how about that? I'm tired of all the fucking positive play that Latvia, Estonia, all these other countries are getting. It's time for Lithuania, baby. So anyway, getting back to this. No, because we're going to let people in. We're going to have to let them in legally. Your transition co-chair, Howard Lutnick, said your appointees will be vetted for loyalty. Are you going to ask appointees take a loyalty pledge? He doesn't have to do that. If they don't follow your orders, will you fire them? If I think it's appropriate, I'd fire them. That makes sense. Okay. Does that go for civil servants? You put Elon Musk in charge of Doge along with Vivek Ramaswamy, but on Musk specifically given the power to oversee agencies that regulate his companies. Isn't that a conflict of interest? I don't think so. Yeah. He doesn't care. It's pure graft. It is in the purest sense of the word, a conflict of interest. There's no questions about this. Okay. I mean, that's it. You got a billionaire who owns multiple companies who are being investigated by the regulatory agencies, and now he's in charge. He has influence over said regulatory agencies. That's it. That's a conflict of interest. He doesn't give a shit, though. But Elon Musk is talking about cuts that would directly affect NASA, which would then directly affect SpaceX's company. Isn't that the textbook definition of a conflict of interest? I think that Elon puts the country long before his company. That's fucking so false. It's so obviously false. Like, yeah, dude, totally. Elon Musk definitely puts country over interest. What a ridiculous crock of shit. It's just like, the craziest part about it is not that Trump says this, but also people believe it. You know what I mean? How do people believe this nonsense? I just don't understand it. Like, how the fuck does anyone turn around and say, yeah, I believe it. This is real. Yeah, this is a good billionaire. This is a good CEO. He's our guy. God, Americans are so dumb, dude. What do you plan to do? I mean, I'll give you an example. We want to move the schools back to the States. We want to, he's talking about abolishing the Department of Education. A virtual closure of the Department of Education in Washington. Virtual closure, where you're going to need some people just to make sure they're teaching English in the schools. Okay, English and mathematics, let's say. It's great. It's great to have the absolute dumbest people in charge of making America even dumber. And then 10 years down the line, we will look back at this and go, how the fuck did we drop the ball so hard? How do we drop the ball so hard? Look, and then he always brings up Norway. He'll bring up Norway, sometimes even China. Like, he brought up Norway and China in a conversation where he was like, look, they're beating us. And it's like, yeah, they are. Except it's the exact opposite, because they have a centralized structure and a focus on making sure educational outcomes are as even as possible. That can only be done through a public system. This is what is so frustrating. As a high school teacher, this will, one, completely get rid of special education funding, allow states to essentially privatize quality schooling, cause way more pushback than he thinks. I think we're so cooked. Like, I don't know. It's just, we are making the country shit. We are straight up. Norway is capitalist when you're criticizing socialism, and it's socialist when you want to copy their policies. Yeah, because Norway, much like every other fucking country, okay, is, first of all, I've never said Norway is socialist, but Norway, much like every other country, is a mixed market economy. It has some socialized aspects, and it has plenty of capitalism also. I would never call Norway a socialist state. Ultimately, it's a capitalist mixed market economy. So is America, for the record. It's just that the socialization, the socialized aspects of American existence are very limited. It's ascetic in comparison to these other European counterparts. People do this all the time. That's what reactionaries do. I mean, yeah, they also do this. You're right, but they also do this for China. They'll be like, China is terrifying. Is a communist shithole. But then also when they want to talk about like the abolition of poverty, they're like, capitalism has been tremendous for China. They've destroyed. At the global stage, they've eradicated global extreme poverty levels in China because of capitalism. Everyone knows you're a reactionary. Me? I don't think you understand what that word means. But yeah, he's talking about like, a closure of the Department of Education and bringing it back to the states. Like, decentralization of this sort is genuinely terrifying, I think. Like, what we need is more funding for public education and none of this like public-private partnership. Last question on your transition. If you decline to sign the ethics agreement as a part of, I don't know anything about it, the ethics document. I don't know. I would sign an ethics document. Will you disclose who the donors are to your transition to my campaign? No, paying for the transition. There will be an announcement on that this week. I really have no problem disclosing anything. That's great, Mr. President. Just so you know, I heard this a couple days ago. I have no problem. I'd rather disclose it right up front. I have no problem with it. I got a question for you about the campaign. Was there a moment when you thought you would lose? I like not to think of that. The power of positive thinking, right? But there were some moments when, you know, there were some bad things done in my campaign. There were a lot of fake polls. They were absolutely fake. Look at an example. Very good pollster in Iowa. Gold standard in Iowa. And then a couple weeks before the election, she had me up 4. And then that brought it way down below 1918. That was a big story because I was only up 4 when she did that, where I was down 3. And that became headlines all over the place just before the election. When you saw that, did you think you were going to lose? I thought it was a wrong poll because we had an Emerson poll that had us up 18, you know. What was the darkest moment? I think we have an obligation with the 60 Minutes interviews my opponent. There's a news program. Speaking of Kamala Harris, what do you think her worst mistakes was? Taking the assignment, number 1, because you have to know what you're good at. Did she make any tactical mistakes? I think that when she wouldn't talk to anybody, it shone a light on her. In other words, if she would have gone out and just did interviews that are comparable to Steve, if there's anybody comparable would say, could you do an interview here, an interview there? You know, she didn't do anything. Oh my God, he's not wrong. And people said, is there something wrong with her? Why would they? I mean, I'm doing this interview with you. I did interviews with, if I had the time, anybody that would ask, I'd do interviews. I watched the whole thing, sir. Yes. Oh, good. I hope you liked it. But I found it to be a pleasure to do it. It's not like he did that. He did. Trump went on so many podcasts. He went on, guys, one thing that I always talk about with respect to Donald Trump and the way he campaigns is he will go on. He went on Aiden Ross's kick stream, chat. What are we talking about? He went at the time. He didn't just go on Joe Rogan or Theo Vaughn or any number of different podcasts, but he also would go on like random Republican news shows that were getting like 12,000 views. Okay. Like if you recall, I talked about this on a couple different occasions. If there is a place that Donald Trump could secure 10 votes, 20 votes, 1,000 votes, he will go out and get it. Okay. He will go out and get it. Whether they are the Amish or whether they are a random Native American tribe, you know, he will go out and he will meet them where they're at. He will min-max. Exactly. Maximum efficiency. He'd do a local radio interview in a town with a population of 3,000 if he believed that at least half of them would vote for him. Exactly. Exactly. And he did do that because he was interested in winning. Yeah. An example that we use quite frequently is the lobster people in Maine. Exactly. The issue here, however, for Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump is that Donald Trump can do that because he's a telegenic figure. He's a TV personality. He knows how to do that. Kamala Harris does not know how to do that. I'm not convinced that there is someone else who can emulate that in the Republican Party, by the way. I don't think JD Vance is that guy. The door knocking thing you posted earlier. Oh yeah. And here's some of that impact. I mean, that they're recognizing as well. Here is the Deal Book Summit that the New York Times is hosting, where it's just like a bunch of media personalities that are talking about like how badly they fucked up and how badly they understand the current ecosystem of information dissemination. They don't get it, okay? Or they're trying to get it. They're playing catch up. Here it is.
In the Philly suburbs. And I'm telling you, we are way off. The entire political class is way off. First of all, digital is a new door knocking. Mm-hmm. You got to understand that. We were laughing our butts off at Donald Trump for suspending his door knocking campaign and letting Charlie Kirk and Elon do a bunch of stuff online. Mm-hmm. We said, these guys are idiots. These guys are stupid. Then you start knocking on these doors. You know what people come to the door with? Their phone in their hand. They're in a 24-hour digital surround sound that has nothing to do with CNN, has nothing to do with any stuff that we do. I asked my son, I got a teenage son, I asked him, who are the most influential people in the world today? I'm thinking to myself, he's going to say Barack Obama, Oprah Winfrey, Jay-Z. He says, Kai Cent, Ross, Jinxie, and Sketch. I don't know who he.
Judging by the people that he mentioned, there is a very high likelihood that Van Joe's son has seen clips of me and does not like me.
He's talking about. I said, what platforms are you on? He goes, I'm on Twitch, kick and rumble. I said, that sounds like you need to go to the hospital.
Van Jones's son is a kick watcher. Van Jones's son is a kick watcher and a rumble watcher. That is crazy. Van Jones, you have failed as a parent. I'm just letting you know. If your teenage son is watching kick and rumble, your shit is cooked. Like if he was just to say like, oh, I watch clips on TikTok and I see I see these content creators on clips on TikTok or on Twitter or one thing. That's one thing. But if he's like an active rumble watcher, holy fuck, dude.
What are these platforms? I'm telling you guys, the mainstream has become fringe and the fringe has become mainstream. There are platforms, there are people out there that are getting 14 million streams, and we're on cable news getting 1 or 2 million. And so there is a whole world out there. Kellyanne Conway, I hate to agree with her, but I do a lot of times. Donald Trump understood that and we didn't. And it's not just Democrats that don't. The entire political class is way off.
I mean, he's right. They don't understand it. They don't recognize the environment. They have no way of comprehending it. And to be fair to Van Jones here, to be fair to Mao's Third World is Van Jones. And I do want to watch like this panel. If you guys have the clip, I would like to watch this clip. But it's hard to comprehend if you're not in this environment. As someone who is in this environment, let me tell you, okay, it is vast. It is vast. It is expansive. And people have no way of comprehending how big it is. Like people don't understand. Like if I'm getting 60,000 live concurrent viewers, that's like 600,000 on the Nielsen ratings. Okay, I'm at the DNC with 60K live concurrent viewers. That's a fucking reputable TV network. Like that is a straight up sizable TV network, especially for the demographics. 60K to 600K. Yes. The way that television Nielsen ratings work is unique viewership across the board in an hour. Okay. From Nielsen TV homes that they extrapolate this data from. Okay. Live concurrent viewership translated to Nielsen metrics would be anywhere from 5x to 10x. This is the reason why, for example, while I had 314,000 concurrents on my election night coverage, I had 7.5 million unique viewers. Okay. But yeah, this is a bunch of old people trying to comprehend how much they, how they lost. And the other side of it is that not only is it sizable, but also it's a demographic that is far more important to tap into, a demographic that simply does not watch any television whatsoever. It is the 18 to 35 demographic, okay? The 18 to 35-year-old demographic is the demographic that I have. And that is a demo that does not watch TV. They don't have cable. I don't have cable. I'm in that demo. I have never had cable. In August, The Bulwark told me it noticed a large portion of its growing YouTube audience was watching its podcasts and clips on TV. Today, YouTube reported that people are watching 400 million hours of podcasts monthly on TVs. Another way pods have displaced cable news and talk shows. Yeah. And this is still playing catch up. Live streaming is at the forefront. And I would say that right now, even at this stage, live streaming is where podcasts were in like 2015. When I was an avid podcast listener in 2014, 2015, I would try to describe to people how important this space was for media, how it was a replacement of mainstream media. Okay. And people would look at me like I'm out of my mind. Because at that time, it's like impossible to imagine. It's impossible to imagine, but like the early 2010s, like podcasts were first forming. It was the Wild West, right? And for many of you might have actually, many of you, if you're old enough like me, probably started watching podcasts back then. Okay. And at that point, most people in traditional media would look at that and go, who gives a shit about this? You know, who cares? Who cares about fucking podcasts? What are you talking about? Oh, it's just like radio, but more accessible. Oh, who cares? And now podcasts in and of itself are a force to be reckoned with. Now they understand the importance of podcasts, but they're still playing catch up because right now the next wave of content is both in short form and in live streaming. And there is a relationship between short form content and live streaming in general. And that's entirely too complicated for these guys to understand. They will not catch up to the live streaming environment, I guess, until it's like 2030s at this rate. If it took them basically 10 years to recognize the importance of podcasts, because they're now officially cognizant of the importance of podcasts, they're still going to, it's going to take them another at least 5 to 6 years for them to catch up to where live streaming is in this entire field. Viewers watch over 400 million hours of podcasts monthly on living room devices. The share of videos uploaded to YouTube in 4K is up by 35% year over year. Early tests of the streamlined subscribe button show more than a 40% increase in net subscribers to their TVs. Watch time of sports content on TV grow 30% year over year. The Miss Rachel channel had one of the highest watch times on TV across YouTube channels in the last year. But is there parallels to be drawn between live TV and live streaming? Not necessarily, because most leftists online are critical of them. Of course, they're going to ignore y'all love. Yeah, but the problem is the Republicans don't ignore their base. Structurally, the Republicans run towards their base. They're afraid of their base. The Democratic Party does not do that. They do the opposite. They hate their base. They run away from their base, and they treat their base like shit. But also on top of that, this is the reason why Republicans can go into where their base is and talk to the people that are even apolitical. Democrats can't do that. If I'm one of the largest leftist content creators, one of the largest progressive content creators in North America, and I am diametrically opposed in my worldview to many of the figureheads in the Democratic Party, the way to change that is not by trying to get me to be a loyal servant of the Democratic Party. The way to change that is by the Democratic Party changing its attitude. That's it. The podcast numbers are inflated. You have so many viewers watching from all around the world. No way podcasts have the same reach as classic TV. Brother, you might be a little old. I agree with you, but don't you think that your numbers might be a little misleading with this since you have people from watching from all around the world? Only part is American? Yes. But the part that is American is so massive. And no, you might be a little bit of a boomer if you're looking at podcast numbers being inflated and then saying that it doesn't have the same motion as I am 22. Okay, well, you have a boomer ass mentality around this. The party needs to come to where the people are, not the other way around. It will not work and will never work. Even if you are a willing servant of the DNC, you're not going to magically make people love the DNC. Exactly. I've been asked twice now by my Harris stan what I am doing to convince the world to let me run the country in 2020. I'm like, brother, I just want to have healthcare. What would you say the ratio is, like 80 to 20? I think so. Probably, yeah. As an independent, what really swung me to Trump was Kamala not going on podcasts. Made me feel like if she was too good to have anyone to have a basic conversation, made me feel like she thinks is almighty. I mean, it sounds stupid. And it is kind of stupid to openly say that. But there are a lot of people who fucking operate like that. And if you want to win elections, you have to fucking go there. That's it. It's just, I don't know what else to say. There is one political party that has figured out how important political streams are. Do you know who I'm thinking of? What? You mean the Republicans, right? Is that what you're saying? Or are you talking about AMLO and Morena? Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, AMLO himself sidestepped a contentious media environment by becoming the media himself. There is a lot of value to that. For sure. I joke and say I'm the largest leftist content creator in North America, but the real person, that honor actually goes to AMLO. He is the one with his daily live streams. It's true. But anyway, let's get back to Donald Trump. Times Magazine. Yeah, AMLO's morning conference totaled 2,505 hours of streaming, equivalent to 3.4 months of continuous broadcasting. I like AMLO, but that's just state media by another name. Yes, it is. But guess what? A lot of private media is owned by liberal capitalists. So if you want to sidestep that because they're going to be unnecessarily contentious to everything that you do and constantly fucking shit on you, then use the environment where there is so much hatred towards mainstream media to your advantage by making your own version of this. Yeah, Mexican media is owned by 3 families. That's how it is in every country, by the way. They have invisible incentives. Like our media environment has invisible incentives. Okay? Invisible incentives that unite them. That's why a lot of the messaging that you see on mainstream outlets, regardless of how diverse this environment seems, is pretty united on certain issues like foreign policy, pretty united on deregulation, pretty united on like talking about healthcare CEOs, for example, if we're going to use this past week. And sometimes you have to sidestep that. Sometimes you have to become your own communicator. Well, you say that, and look who were on CNN last night. 3 former Fox News personalities on CNN Newsnight this evening. Yeah. FBI director resigned before Trump takes office. Julie Virginsky, Democrat strategist. Gretchen Carlson, journalist and co-founder of Lift Our Own Voices. And Geraldo Rivera, journalist. All 3 are former Fox News personalities, now on CNN. It's time for this for the new chatters. Beep. Beep. Here. Noam Chomsky, the 5 filters of mass media machine, listening post by Al Jazeera. This is like the most condensed version of manufactured consent.
Propaganda. Many use the word when talking about countries like North Korea, Kazakhstan, Iran. Countries viewed as authoritarian through the lens of the Western media. Freedom of thought. People use those terms when talking about countries like the United States, France, Australia, democracies. In 1988, Noam Chomsky co-authored a book with Edward Herman called Manufacturing Consent. It blasted apart the notion that media acts as a check on political power, that media inform the public, serve the public, so that we can better engage in the political process. In fact, media manufacture our consent. They tell us what those in power need them to tell us so we can fall in line. Democracy is staged with the help of media that work as propaganda machines. Media operate through 5 filters. The first has to do with ownership. Mass media firms are big corporations. Often they're part of even bigger conglomerates. Their endgame, profit. And so it's in their interests to push for whatever guarantees that profit. Critical journalism takes second place to the needs and interests of the corporation. The second filter exposes the real role of advertising. Media costs a lot more than consumers will ever pay. So who fills the gap? Advertisers. And what are the advertisers paying for? Audiences. And so it isn't so much that the media are selling you a product, their output. They're also selling advertisers a product. You. How does the establishment manage the media? That's the third filter. Journalism cannot be a check on power because the very system encourages complicity. Governments, corporations, big institutions know how to play the media game. They know how to influence the news narrative. They feed media scoops, official accounts.
Flag is what Hasan gets for being anti-Zionist? Yes.
Interviews with the experts. They make themselves crucial to the process of journalism.
Bro, why the fuck is everybody telling me to watch the Adam Freeland Destiny video? Like, are you fucking stupid? I'm not going to watch that, man. Like, the amount of people that have been spamming that today is crazy to me. I don't give a shit, dude. Like, we got so much to cover, and y'all are just like the biggest drama perverts. Like, you jerk off the fucking drama. I just don't understand it. And it is literally all like 30-month subscribers. You know what I mean? Like 30, be in a worse mood, please. I'm in such a bad mood today. It's fucking annoying, dude. I'm trying to fix it. It's all 30 to 40 month subs.
So those in power and those who report on them are in bed with each other. If you want to challenge power, you'll be pushed to the margins. Your name won't be down. You won't be getting in. You've lost your access. You've lost the story. When the media, journalists, whistleblowers, sources stray away from the consensus, they get flack. That's the fourth filter. When the story is inconvenient for the powers that be, you'll see the Flak machine in action, discrediting sources, trashing stories, and diverting.
Yeah, if you can't actually critically cover the inconvenient truth, if you can't actually address the thing, if you cannot address the message, then you address the messenger. You directly hit the messenger. You say, no, this guy is bad. This is a bad person. This is not a person that deserves your charity. Okay? The anti-Semitism allegations slapped onto every single person that is critical of Israel is a perfect demonstration of this. Okay? Especially someone like myself. Right? You know what my background is. You know what my beliefs are. You know the amount of time I've spent talking specifically about anti-Semitism, right? And yet, so aggressively, a lot of these institutions have leaned on this notion that like, oh, I must be criticizing Israel from an anti-Semitic perspective.
The conversation. To manufacture consent, you need an enemy, a target. That common enemy is the fifth filter. Communism, terrorists, immigrants, a common enemy. A boogeyman to fear helps corral public opinion. 5 filters, one big media theory. Consent is being manufactured all around you, all the time.
This is a fantastic video, obviously, and it perfectly condenses the one of the aspects of Noam Chomsky's commentary on American media, or just Western media, capitalist media, and how it operates, with great art direction as well. Anyway, and now I figured it was good timing to explain everything you were relying on the audience, knowing that they clearly didn't. Yeah, and now let's get back with the new perspective that some of you might have gathered to Donald Trump being named Time Magazine Person of the Year.
Building across the street, I wasn't going to buy it. Then I said, you know, it's right next to the New York Stock Exchange. I'm going to buy it. We've had great success. 40 Wall Street, we've had tremendous success with it. But you've really had success with the New York Stock Exchange. It's an incredible group of people. And Jeff, you have done an incredible job, you and your group. And what a beautiful speech you made. Thank you very much. I was some introduction of all of us. But we've gone up since the election. I was just told by Scott, everybody said, you have to pick Scott Bessent. He has to be the one chosen for Treasury. Where is Scott? Let's see. He's around here someplace. He's around here. He told me we picked up $3 trillion since the election day. And I said, well, that's good, but what about before the election day? He said, we picked up some money there because they thought you were going to win. I said, I like this guy. He's going to be my Treasury Secretary. But it's true. I think we're going to have a tremendous run. We have to straighten out some problems, some big problems in the world. When we left, we didn't have any of these problems. We didn't have Russia with Ukraine. We didn't have Israel October 7th. We didn't have the Afghanistan disaster. We didn't have inflation. We had no inflation. And we had a very strong economy. And we're going to do that again, but I think we're going to even up it because now we have experience that we didn't have. Now I know everybody. You know, when I first came in, we came down, Melania and I, a great first lady, who's very popular, by the way. She rang in. She rang in the bell. She rang in the bell. But we came down and we're driving down Pennsylvania Avenue, and it was so beautiful. I said, you know, I've never done this before. I didn't know anybody. I got to the Oval Office, and I'm picking all these big positions, and I didn't really know the people in Washington, but boy, did I get to learn fast. And now we do, and I think we have an incredible staff behind me and others that aren't here, and we're going to do a fantastic job. We're going to create the incentive theory again. In fact, I just announced yesterday, I didn't announce it for this reason, but Anybody investing $1 billion or more gets a very expedited approval process because, you know, the approvals, when people come into the country, it takes them, in many cases, 14, 15, 16 years to get the approval. We have Lee is around here someplace. He's in charge of the environment.
I like that they're hitting the I like that they're hitting the Democratic Party's position. Trump's like, if the Democrats don't do it, we'll do it ourselves. We're gonna expedite the approval. We're gonna expedite the approval process, but also simultaneously we're gonna go crazy. We're gonna go crazy mode on the undocumented migrants that are here.
And that's Lee Zeldin, who ran an incredible race for governor in New York, was a very, very successful guy before that. He was a great fantastic lawyer. He's in charge of environmental, and we'll try and push him as much as possible to get those permits very quickly. Like a nuclear power plant, I would say a week.
It's crazy how much power and influence the Republican Party holds in this country because they just don't care about preserving the sanctity of institutions or whatever the fuck the Democrats act like they care about. Whatever he says goes. You know, he could just be like, yeah, we're gonna expand Medicare, and ultimately he'd be able to utilize the bully pulpit and whip the Republican Party into shape to get it across the finish line. In my opinion, it would be a difficult fight, and it would require some kind of genuine commitment from Donald Trump, which is why it won't happen. Especially when like some of his backers would obviously rail against that sort of thing. Look, another 21-month subscriber. I'm doing a week off now.
Would be enough time. What do you think? Is that okay? We're going to get fast approvals, and it's great that we have Lee and all of the people behind. They're all stars in their own way, but it is an honor, and this is a double because usually they don't coordinate the Man of the Year or the Person of the Year with the ringing of the bell. And brilliantly, you picked them both at the same time, and you were all friends, and you said, let's do it. And it takes one trip. It doesn't take two trips. That's okay. We like to save. We like to be able to do it properly. But this is a special group. So many friends in the audience, too. John, great job you've done at ABC. I'm really proud of you, and you've been so nice to me. Otherwise, I wouldn't actually acknowledge you at all. But you.
Trump, here are some of the high notes from, or important notes from Trump's Time interview. On a scenario with a war with Iran, he said, anything can happen. Anything can happen. It's a very volatile situation. Okay, let's take a look. Yeah, there's a scenario where you would allow Israel to annex the West Bank. I will. What I'm doing and what I'm saying again, I'll say it again. I want a long-lasting peace. I'm not saying that's a very likely scenario, but I want a long-lasting peace, a peace where you don't have an October 7 in another 3 years. And there are numerous ways to do it. You can do it two-state, but there are numerous ways it can be done. And I'd like to see who can be happy, but I'd like to see everybody be happy. Everybody go about their lives and people stop from dying. That includes on many different fronts. I mean, we have some tremendous world problems that we didn't have when I was president. You know, when I left, we had an Iran that was not very threatening. They had no money. They weren't giving money to Hamas. They weren't giving money to Hezbollah. Iran recently plotted to have you assassinated, which, by the way, again, the media is incredible on this issue because foreign policy is uniparty, right? Foreign policy is uniparty, and mainstream media is completely complicit, okay, in this uniparty endeavor. So, of course, when Trump says something crazy like, oh, yeah, I might actually annex the West Bank, who knows? They don't follow up. There is no following up, okay? Immediately you just move on to some more like escalatory sentiments about Iran. Iran is trying to get you killed. Will you go to war with them? Anything can happen. Anything can happen. It was a very volatile situation. I think the most dangerous thing right now is what's happening where Zelensky has decided with the approval of, I assume, the president to start shooting missiles into Russia. I think that's a major escalation. I think it's a foolish decision, but I would imagine people are waiting until I get in before anything happens. I think that would be very smart to do that. Do you trust Netanyahu? I don't trust anybody. Can I ask, did Elon Musk meet with the Iranians at your behest? I don't know that he met with them. Reportedly, he met with the Iranians. I don't know. He didn't tell me that. Another important aspect of this was the trans conversation. Okay, so let's keyword search trans in here. I think that some women in the America want to know, are you committed to making sure the FDA does not strip their ability to access abortion pills? That would be my commitment. Yeah, that's always been my commitment. Can I shift to the transgender issue? Obviously, sort of a major issue during the campaign. In 2016, you said that transgender people could use whatever bathroom they choose. Do you still feel that way? When was that in 2016? I don't want to get into the bathroom issue because it's a very small number of people we're talking about, and it's ripped apart our country. So they'll have to settle whatever the law finally agrees on. He hit the Kamala Harris angle on this. The law decides. I'm a very big believer in the Supreme Court, and I'm going to go by their rulings. And so far, I think they're rulings that have that people are going along with. But we're talking about a very small number of people, and we're talking about it, and it gets massive coverage, and it's not a lot of people. But on that note, there's a big fight in Congress right now. The incoming trans member from Delaware, Sarah McBride, says we should all be focused on more important issues. Do you agree? I do agree with that. On that, absolutely. As I was saying, it's a small number of people. It was a big issue, though, on the campaign. I mean, one of the ads your campaign put the most money behind was that Trump is for us and Harris is for they, them. Well, it's true. Trump is for us. Right. It obviously strikes a chord. I mean, Trump is definitely for us, okay? And the U.S. is the vast, vast majority of people in this country. And us is the vast, vast majority of people in this country. And also, I want to have all people treated fairly. You know, forget about the majority or not majority. I want people to be treated well and fairly. On the trans issue, will you reverse Biden's protections for trans kids under Title IX? I'm going to look at it very closely. We're looking at it right now. We're going to look at it. Look, the country's torn apart. We're going to look at everything. So he basically said on the trans issue, he's like, I don't want to get into the bathroom issue. I don't care. It's a tiny percentage of people. Who cares? Who cares? That doesn't mean that like trans people are going to be protected. They certainly will not be. It's just, it is not as significant nor consequential, and Trump understands that. That's the difference. Because if he was a Matt Walsh type, if he just like wanted to literally, if he ideologically was committed to like killing trans people, he would have an answer to that. He would be like, they're dangerous groomer predators. Do you understand? The reason why it's not a priority for him is because he understands that it's the sweatiest fucking losers that care about this shit aggressively. Okay? Now, this doesn't mean that he will go out of his way to defend trans people. That certainly is not the case. He will still be at the whims of people who do care a lot about this shit. Right? People who do care quite a bit about this. But it's yet another clear example that the permanent room reader Donald Trump has read the room and knows that this is like not a big priority for him. Okay? Yeah, his hyperfixation is on immigration right now. That's what he cares about. The last part of this interview that I want to cover is also the prices will come down part, okay? Because he talks about prices. Donald Trump in his interview with the Times says he's not sure he can get the price of groceries down. It's hard to bring these down once they go up. You know, it's very hard. Prices will come down, Trump told voters during a speech last week, laying out his vision to return to White House. You just watch, they'll come down. Everything will come down fast. Not only with insurance, but everything. You've realigned both political parties. You've changed America. There's got to be something that you understand about winning votes for the American people that your opponents maybe don't give you credit for. It's, you know, I think people want to lead a good life. I think they want to be able to buy groceries at a reasonable price and not have to turn off their heat in order to buy 2 apples. I think that people want security. I don't think people want to have our borders rushed in, invasion, yada, yada, yada. They don't want to see somebody in a weightlifting contest, a woman against a man. Again, a fucking totally made up thing. It makes no sense. They don't want to see, you know, men playing in women's sports. They don't want to see all of this transgender, which is just taken over. And then when you look at not many years after this person who went through the process is saying, who did this to me? As you know, it's a very high percentage. Media also playing a role here in you know, propping up these narratives, the detransitioner narratives in general. I really think that the people of this country have tremendous hearts. They understand that they want common sense applied in their lives. Most of the things I talk about are common sense. They don't want to see their food price go up by 57% in a short period of time. And I think that's why I won. The Republican Party has become the party of common sense. And it's so many of the things I mentioned and other things too. They don't want to all have electric cars. They might want an electric car. Electric cars are great, but they're not for everybody. They also want gasoline powered cars or hybrids or anything else that has to come out. They don't want to have a mandate on cars. Okay, where's the other price conversation? Hold on. J6 pardons. I'll be looking at oil prices bringing down, coming very substantially. If the prices of here, this is where he says, now the difference is you've had 3 times as much now. They have essentially they try to get the equal, but they didn't do that. You'd have energy, you'd have inflation that would have been much worse than it is. And it already was possibly the worst the country's ever had. We've had inflation. They've lost on inflation. They lost on immigration. They lost on, as a part of immigration, I think a big part of the border is the border itself, you know? If you can subdivide the world, word immigration, they lost on the economy. But it was a different kind of it. It was the economy as it pertains to groceries and small things that are actually big things for a family. If the price of groceries don't come down, will your presidency be a failure? I don't think so. Look, they got them up. I'd like to bring them down. It's hard to bring things down once they're up. You know, it's very hard. But I think they will. I think that energy is going to bring them down. I think a better supply chain is going to bring them down. He is hyper reliant. I think his relationships that he has with Saudi Arabia and maybe even Russia for OPEC plus, the cartel, playing ball with him, if he does like a little pull and push on foreign policy, and then his reliance on big oil, which was so incredibly invested in Donald Trump's reelection, to lower the price of oil, that will then lower the price of all goods across the board. That's what he's thinking. There is no assurance or no guarantee that this will happen. And ironically enough, a lot of the things that he has advocated for, a lot of the things that he wants to do, like his signature policies, are inflationary in nature. Tariffs, inflationary in nature. Mass deportations, inflationary in nature. What do you think happens when there's no agricultural output? When you got like 60 to 70% of all agricultural output in this country being produced by undocumented migrants? What do you think happens to the prices of everything? You know, the supply chain is still broken. It's broken. You see it. You go out to the docks and you see all these containers. And I own property in California in Palos Verdes. They're very nice. And I passed the docks. I've been doing it for 20 years. I've never seen anything like it. You know, for 17 years, I saw containers and, you know, they'd come off and they'd be taken away. Big areas, you know, in that area. You know, they have big ships coming in. Big. The port. Big. Very big. I see this for years as I was out there inspecting property and things. And I look down and I see there are 13, 12, 14 containers. You wouldn't believe they can hold each other. It's like crazy. No, the supply chain is broken. So what has happened to the containers? I don't understand. He's like me. He likes big things. I mean, yeah, respect to that.
You have been, it's a terrific job you've done. But again, I want to thank you. We're going down to ring the bell now. And I could just say that the economy, I believe, is going to be very strong. We do have to solve some problems. We have wars going on that we didn't have. We have a lot of things happening that we didn't have that would have never happened. They would have never happened. But now they have happened. And I want to get them solved. We have to get them solved because ultimately the power of weaponry today is the biggest threat we have, in my opinion. It's not some of the other things that you read about. It's the power of weaponry. The weapons are so powerful, so devastating. And I rebuilt our military. I got to know every one of them, including nuclear weapons. I hated to do it. Actually, I hated to do it. But we did some nuclear weapons that are so devastating. It almost makes you very sad as you get them and as they come online. It makes you very sad because you know what the purpose of them is, and you just hope to God that you never have to use them. Because if you do, the world will never be the same. So we have to be very, very smart. We have to be very sharp. We have to be very special to do a job. And I think we'll get it done. And I think we're going to get a lot of people in the room. We've seen it. We were in France where President Macron did a fantastic job with the cathedral, an absolutely fantastic job, of Notre Dame. And it was beautiful. It was the opening, and I just got back, and it was something really beautiful. And a lot of world leaders there. We had about 80 world leaders, different countries, and they were all coming together. They all wanted to meet us.
That's the correct way to say it, my man. Lenin.
And meet me as representative of the U.S., and there was a lot of goodwill. But we're going to get some really tremendous goodwill. I was even thinking about inviting certain people to the inauguration, and some people said, wow, that's a little risky, isn't it? And I said, maybe it is. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But we like to take little chances, but that's not a bad chance. Here's a gentleman that's going to do a great job at HUD. Good luck, my friend, right? He's going to be a he's been my friend for a long time. It's nice to see you. I haven't shaken his hand yet. Come on. Congratulations. Thank you. Really, you're going to be great. And Ben Carson is your biggest fan in the world. You know that. Ben has been with us for a long time and has done a fantastic job. Thank you. Good. So, ladies and gentlemen, go on. We're going to put it straight. We're going to give tremendous incentive like no other country has. We're cutting your tax.
What do you have to say to the American?
Oh,